So when my mom had her stroke, it was like, okay, this is it. Decision time. Like, what are you going to do? I'm definitely going to continue the restaurant. There's no way that I'm going to let, this restaurant go away. That's when it was like really like heads down, let's do this. Let me take it over. And that's
Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warmoth.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, SGVers, for hanging out with us again for another episode of the SGV Master Key. I'm your host, Russell, and Scott is with us today. And if you are new to this podcast, welcome. We tell the stories and document the people here that make up the San Gabriel Valley. And if that is interesting to you, I welcome you to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. We have a special announcement today. We have partnered with San Gabriel Valley Now. They're your source for city news, announcements, events, special savings, and everything SGV. Check them out on Instagram at sgv.now and read their new SGV Now magazine on their website, sgvnow.com. Scott, we always sort of discuss how we're going to bring in our guests, what's the connection, and food is a really easy topic for us, I think, always.
Yes, and so why don't we just stop the podcast and head to the restaurant?
That's always what I feel like, as we start to discuss what food and what they serve and everything, I always get very hungry and interested to go there right away.
Yeah, I do too. And it's always a great subject, and it's great to have a guest who is in that industry.
Absolutely. And, I think the SGV is known for its food, among other things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just so many different kinds of food. It's just such a pleasure to live here.
Absolutely. And so today our guest is a restaurant owner. Her name is Natsumi Saeki. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you own a restaurant in the San Gabriel Valley.
Yes.
Right? And tell us about that.
Okay, the restaurant is called Ducks. It's in San Gabriel. It's on the corner of Las Tunas and Muscatel. My parents actually opened it in 95, so we've been there forever, 20-something years now. I basically grew up there, right? I was 7 when my parents opened, so I grew up in the restaurant, and here I am running it, taking it over.
And I believe the location is on Las Tunas near, east of Rosemead, is that correct? Or west of Rosemead?
West of Rosemead, yes.
Okay. And I've been there before.
Okay, cool.
Once before, I don't remember when. And would I be correct in describing it as Japanese comfort food?
Yeah, it would definitely be Japanese comfort food. And the vibe of the restaurant's very homey too. So when you come in, it just feels like you're coming home or to somebody's family's home and to eat. So
what is Japanese comfort food then?
So Japanese comfort food is more so something that you can typically see if you go and visit a Japanese home. So you'll see a lot of curries, noodles, which could be ramen or udon, soba, tempura, just really food that you can feel like you're at home, And a lot of Japanese homes or in Japan, you'll see. Okay, curry is definitely one of them. You'll see curry. If you go to a friend's house, they'll probably have curry, So that's definitely one.
That's the brown sauce, kind of like a brown gravy.
Yes.
Yeah, that is so delicious.
Yeah.
With potatoes, right?
Yeah. You mostly when you eat it at home, you'll have your vegetables. So you have carrots, potatoes, some kind of meat in there. It's all mixed up and it's very stewy. So it's really
What time do you open?
We can go now. No.
Yeah, I would Is it open now?
No, we don't. We don't open until 11:30 today.
Oh, okay.
So I'll have to hold your hunger.
Well, so as you're describing all those dishes, and I'm thinking of another place in the San Gabriel Valley that serves that kind of menu, I don't think there is one.
I think that Kare is more, I think you'll find kare sometimes in like sushi restaurants, but it's like a secondary item. It's something that they just have if you want it. But we specialize in it. You know, that's our niche. Kare, donburi, like all the things that are kind of add-ons to other restaurants, that's what we do. You know, so we perfect that, you know, and honestly, I eaten it since I was a kid, so it's something that I really am passionate about. Like if a lot of my customers are like, if you go out of business, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't know what to do either. Like, cause that's my comfort food, you know? And my mom's now like at an age where she's kind of getting tired of cooking. So I'm like, if I don't continue this, like who's going to cook for me? You know, like where am I going to get this comfort food? So it's like, you know, I definitely want to continue this for everybody and for myself as well, just cause it's really comforting and things that you can't really get unless you come to a restaurant like ours, you know.
Do you cook it? Do you cook yourself?
I do.
So you're one of the cooks or the cook or?
I'm the head, but I have chefs as well. So they do an amazing job following the recipe, continuing with, you know, the core of why we do it. You know, there's as passionate as I am, I get in trouble a lot with my chefs. They're like, why didn't you do your sauce? You know, make sure you watch your sauce. So like they're really particular as well. They learn from my dad. So, you know, they learn from the best. So, yeah.
So we just dove right into the restaurant, but, you know, I mean, I guess that's no surprise, but so you grew up in the San Gabriel Valley and were your parents born here or what's your, you know, how did your family come to be here?
Kind of a long story. But my parents are not from here. My mom is from Tottori. My dad is from Sagaken. They moved down here. They built a life. They had my sister. They had me. I grew up in Alhambra probably since I was 2 or 3. I don't really remember when we moved to Alhambra, but I was a baby. So all I know is Alhambra. I was actually born in Ventura, but we moved down here, and I basically grew up in Alhambra. So I only know about Alhambra, but my parents are from Japan. They speak English-ish, but at home we speak Japanese. So that's kind of the...
Okay. Did you go to Alhambra High School?
I went to San Gabriel High School.
San Gabriel High School.
Mm-hmm. My address was in Alhambra, but we were in that, you know, zoning area where we went to San Gabriel.
Okay, so is that your connection to Coach Honda?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were you part of?
I played, yes. I played in SGV, and then I also helped in like the camps and stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Another connection that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So are you familiar, were you associated with, and sorry for the audience who don't know what we're speaking about the basketball community, right? And specifically the Japanese basketball community in the San Gabriel Valley and this organization, I forget, it's called SGV something.
I just know it as SGV.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, yeah, it could definitely be something else.
And they're like an elite basketball training.
It's a club, yeah. It's a basketball club. Mm-hmm.
And so that means that you're a good basketball player.
I played basketball. I wouldn't say I'm good, but I definitely played.
Okay. Okay. Did you play for an organization?
I played for SGV as club. I played for some Nikkei teams, you know, when they needed players and stuff. But I definitely, like, SGV was my home as far as the club side goes.
I see. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you grew up in Alhambra and your parents had this restaurant in 95. Mm-hmm. Were they the originators of this restaurant or they took it over? They
are the originators. The restaurant that was prior to us was like an Indian restaurant. So we just bought, you know, it was kind of like an asset sale. My dad purchased the shell of the restaurant and then we created Ducks.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And what was your role in the restaurant coming up? You said you were involved in there your whole life?
Yeah. Well, you know, when I was like 7, my aunt, Tomoko even, my aunt and my cousin Tomoko, she was on a different show, I think, with you guys. You know, we all work there because it's a family. So we all help out. Whenever my cousin would be working or my aunt would be working, you know, I would bust the tables or, you know, I would clear or wipe the tables and my aunt would give me a couple bucks as, you know, like a, hey, thanks for helping me out. And so like, you know, those are the type of things that I started, you know, doing just because, you know, I wanted to help out. I'm a kid, you know, and I'm not doing anything at the restaurant. You know, I'm just sitting around. I'm going to help and wash maybe a couple of dishes. So I grew up with that. And, you know, in high school for like gas money, I would just like, you know, work at the restaurant and, you know, clear dishes and, you know, get some gas money for the week, you know, and gas was cheap back then. So maybe it was like $20 for a whole week, you know. And then in high school, I worked as well because, in college, I came back and worked on the weekends just because I need money for school. So I would come back and serve, and, the tip money that I get, that's what I would spend for the week at college. So I grew up mostly in the front of the house, but obviously I grew up there. So I watched my dad cook, my mom cook, kind of picked up all the recipes throughout the career. I didn't do a lot of the administrative stuff until after. I didn't really know much about it. I didn't go into like business administration or any of that in college. So I didn't really know any of that business side of it until later. It was more of like operational, functional, things that I picked up throughout the years.
How far away did you go to college?
I went to Long Beach State.
Okay, and you lived there during the week.
So I lived over there, so I would drive back on the weekends and then drive back for school.
So are your parents still involved in the restaurant?
No. They try. I wanted them to, but they officially retired in 2017. It was actually a hard transition, actually. So my mom had a stroke in 2017, and that was kind of our cut over time of like, okay, Mom, you need to chill. Like, you need to stop worrying about everything. You just need to relax. And I think she was 70 something at that point. So I'm like, okay, let's stop. My dad, he continued obviously, and he helped out for a couple years, but it was kind of like, okay, Dad, like, you can stop. But they still definitely worry about the restaurant. They kind of ask like, hey, how things going, like, and they kind of pop in. My mom would just pop in randomly and kind of just check things out, and then like steal a couple food items and a couple beers, and she'll head out, So yeah, they're around definitely, but not in everyday operations.
Do you have siblings involved?
I have an older sister, but she's not involved with the restaurant. Mm-hmm. She's a teacher. She's a professor, actually. So, yeah, she's way busy.
When did you know you were going to stay involved with your family business?
I knew since I was a kid. I'm like, this is it. Like, I want to continue the restaurant. I knew it, but like, it wasn't. I went to college for healthcare administration, so obviously I was not, like, I knew that it was going to always be there for me, but I wanted to pursue something else just to kind of see what's out there. So I always had it in my heart. I think my parents saw me go and get, a degree and, in a totally different field. So they probably thought like, no, she's probably not going to continue it, like, but let's see what happens type of thing. So when, it was time, my mom had her stroke, it was like, okay, this is it. Decision time. Like, what are you going to do? And it was kind of like, okay, I'm definitely going to continue the restaurant. There's no way that I'm going to let, this restaurant go away. So that's when it was like really like heads down, let's do this, let me take it over. And that's kind of how it morphed into what it is now.
Have you made changes in the 5 years?
Not to the menu, but definitely to the operation side of it. My parents did a lot of things very old school. And so I definitely changed a lot of things where it's more efficient, efficient, and, more productive in a way. So yeah, definitely changes on the operation side, but nothing on the food side. We kept the recipes pretty steady.
You wouldn't want to change too much of that, would you?
Mm-hmm. Don't change anything that's not broken.
Yeah.
I mean, 27 years, is it? Right? 27 years.
I think so.
And there's not a large Japanese community in this area. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there ever was where the restaurant is located. So who are your clientele?
It's all over the place. We have so many different cultures, so many different, ages of people that come to our restaurant. It's amazing and that's kind of the cool thing. Like, where I work there, I'm there all the time. So I see all of our customers. I see who comes in, and I get to know a lot of them too, because some of our customers will come for lunch and then also come for dinner, and it's like and I'm always there, so they know who I am, I know who they are, and it's amazing to see like the different families, the different types of people, their friends that they bring to the restaurant, kids that grew up like how I grew up. They used to come when they were a kid. Now they're grown up and they're bringing their kids. So it's
do you
really
know
cool.
Customers who have been coming for 27 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what kind of customers are they? Are they Caucasian neighborhood people? Are they Japanese?
They are all over the place. I have Caucasian customers that have been coming for 20 plus years. I have Chinese customers that have been coming. I have Japanese customers that, like, when I say it's all over the place, it literally is all over the place. We have so many, and we're so grateful, that they keep coming and they bring their friends and family. And we don't do any marketing per se. We haven't for the 20-something years that we've been open. I think what my dad did some when we first opened, they did flyers. But beyond that, we didn't do anything that like puts us out in the market. We just did what we did, and people just, word of mouth, I guess, and brought their friends, and they told their friends, and they told and so like our community is just a melting pot of like customers that know each other. It's funny because we have customers that come in and they know the other table and they know the other table, and sometimes like the whole restaurant knows each other, for whatever reason, maybe school or work or whatever. But it's really cool to see everybody kind of mesh together and come and just eat. It's really cool. And it's definitely something that I definitely will not want to let go of.
I first heard of this restaurant from Albert.
And Albert, a former guest, is Chinese.
Yes. And he recommended it to me. So I went there, and I must have driven by this location hundreds of times, and your signage is sort of not really noticeable. Is that correct?
Very incognito.
I mean, you almost have to you could almost drive right by it and you wouldn't see it, right? Mm-hmm. Is it still like that today?
It is, but we are getting a little pressure to get it redone just because it's, dated. But I really like the sign. I like that it's vintage. I like that it's the same sign since 1995, but we are getting some pressure on, getting it updated. So I think what I want to do is I probably want to just do the old design, but just do it over again. So it's like restoring the old sign.
And if my memory is correct, it's like a white background with green letters, right? Just like block letters, ducks. Mm-hmm. Oh, what's the origin behind the name?
Oh, yeah, good question. So I grew up in Alhambra, and right in Alhambra, there's an Almanza Park, right? So Almanza Park has a little, I wouldn't say a little, but like a pond there with ducks. And so my parents used to bring my sister and I to the park all of the time. And we used to save the crust of our breads throughout the week. And we would go to Almanza Park and we would feed the ducks. And that was our thing, we would go play at the park and we would feed the ducks. And so when my dad opened up the restaurant, it was kind of like a metaphor, like our family is feeding the ducks. And so that's kind of how it kind of morphed into, Duck's Restaurant. It has nothing to do with our food. We don't have any duck curry, none of that. It's just that our family is feeding the ducks, which is kind of our community. So it's kind of the story.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad I got to hear that and learn that.
Yeah, a lot of our customers ask. It's funny because our customers will make up their own stories, and it's fun to hear their side of it.
Do you have people come in and want duck?
We do a lot, and I've even had people get really upset with us because they're like, "We want duck," and I'm like, "I'm so sorry."
Wow. Yeah. Well, that is an amazing story. I'm so glad that I asked and that you shared that with our listeners. Natsumi, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them. What did you bring with you today?
Actually, these, I brought the keys to the restaurant.
Okay.
The original keys that we got in 1995, which we still use to open up the restaurant. And I brought this because Ducks is a huge part of me and who I am. And so just having the keys and being able to continue the restaurant, it means a lot to me. So I brought the keys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing
that's
that.
a nice story. And it leads me to ask, you saw the development of the restaurant. You saw your parents. What did they go through to start this and to keep it alive? What was that like?
So I was young, so I didn't get to see a lot of it, but definitely they went through every, restaurant horror story you can possibly think of. Like the first couple of years are going to be tough. You're going to like get really close to bankruptcy. You're going to like, if you don't bring up this many customers, you're going to lose customers. There's so many things about restaurant business that are so fragile. They definitely went through all of those. We had hard times. We had, tax issues. We had revenue issues. We had, vendor issues. We had equipment issues. Like my parents went through all of it, so they went through the course of a regular restaurant in their life cycle. So there was definitely hard times, but I was obviously a little young, so I didn't really see that financial side of it. But yeah, they definitely went through a lot of ups and downs, but they persevered. They provided a great place for people to come and feel comfortable and eat great food. And so that was just the true champion, and that kind of pushed through. And they did it for 1995 until 2017, so that's
22 years.
That's amazing.
And English was not their native language. Mm-hmm. And you kind of alluded to their English as being kind of Englishy.
So my dad speaks English well. He pretends like he doesn't in times that it benefits him, but he definitely does enough to, live and survive. My mom is the same. She could definitely speak it, but now she's like, I don't speak English, just because she doesn't want to deal with anything. She just says like, you guys figure it out. You speak English, So, but they definitely speak enough to communicate with customers and just, be able to, survive on the day to day. So, but at home, definitely 100% Japanese. Yeah.
How big is your restaurant? How many tables? How many can you see?
We actually only have 9 tables. Well, it's 9 tables that can be broken out into smaller tables, but it's about 9 tables. It's very small.
Are you turning the tables a lot each day?
We are now. We have been very busy this last couple of months where we're having to push and turn tables. It's amazing because our customers are like family to us. So they see a busy restaurant, they eat and they leave and they open up a table for us. So it's really amazing what you give out to the community and what you get back, So it's really cool.
Well, surviving 27 years in the San Gabriel Valley is no easy feat, and that's an accomplishment in and of itself. But a lot of restaurants didn't make it through the last 2 years, right? Like, yes. What was that for you?
That was tough. The first couple of months that COVID hit, it was very scary. It's one of those moments of like, oh my gosh, like this is for real, But we had so many great things happen throughout the years through COVID. The first amazing thing was we got a call from, I believe it's Off the Plate. It was a nonprofit organization. They reached out to us. They were doing a thing where they were partnering with restaurants and getting meals to hospitals. So they had their funders, I guess, provide them money, and they were buying food from restaurants, supporting the restaurants through COVID, and then also providing those meals to hospitals. So we were 100% fortunate that they reached out to us, and we were one of the restaurants that was able to produce those meals for hospitals, but then also get the revenue in that we needed to support our staff and to support the restaurant. So we had that as an amazing thing happen to, not happen, but be able to do throughout COVID. And we also had a lot of support from the community. People ordered bento boxes. So we had like the Pasadena Buddhist Temple, Nikkei seniors, and even Cato. They all ordered bento boxes from us in large quantities that helped us get through COVID as well. Another amazing thing was SGV Eats. I think it's a Facebook
Oh, I was
page.
just going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so SGV Eats, that one boomed through COVID. And Alan, I think it was shout out to Alan. I went to school with him, but he is the founder of that page. But that community grew, and our customers would post there as well. So the word that we were open got out to the community, and we actually got a lot of new customers through COVID as well. So with that, here we are now. We have a lot of new customers that didn't know we existed, that drove by for years and didn't know we were there. now come to our restaurant and be a regular. And, so since COVID, it was a really hard time in the first couple of years, but now we have actually grown since pre-COVID. So yeah, it's been.
So for the listening audience who may not know what SGV Eats is, it's a community that came up to raise support, right, online for restaurants. Support in the sense of awareness, right? They weren't raising funds, but people would come on there and post and say, this restaurant may be struggling, go support them. And this whole community of SGVers would just flood these restaurants. And that was an amazing thing. And I was watching from, on Facebook, and I could see the impact that it was having was incredible. And you're one of the people who benefited from that.
Yes, 100%.
Wow.
Was that set up because of COVID or okay?
As a response to COVID, I believe, right? And so now I see some posts where people are posting, and it's changed now, right? Like,
yeah, I think it's changed because now it's kind of like, hey, like check this restaurant out. It's super cool, and it's kind of now like a forum of everybody sharing their experience and their food experiences. And we have a lot of new restaurants coming in the area as well, so it's a really good place for new restaurants to kind of put their name out there. So it's just kind of morphed into like a food community, I think, for SGVers. But yeah, originally it was to support local businesses, but that just grew into this huge platform.
Did you ever do the outdoor dining thing?
San Gabriel had a pretty strict rule on outdoor dining and getting permits for that. So we didn't really have the funds to purchase the borders that were required. It would you had to have cemented borders that can't be moved, and so it was a little bit strict on the San Gabriel City side. So we couldn't do the full outdoor dining because you had to have the setup permitted. So what we did was we had a couple tables out in the front where people can order their food, and if they want to, they can eat outside as kind of like a picnic tables outside. So we did do that for a little while. A lot of our food is really good to go. Our donburi, our kare, it holds really well. So it was fine that our customers were taking it home. So it was fine, yeah, for a good amount of time.
Pasadena restaurants are thrilled at the extra dining space that they've acquired, sometimes doubled, and it's almost permanent, right? That's they're still allowing them to have that space outdoors. Plate 38, I think they have a permanent space now in the parking lot, but that's unfortunate for San Gabriel, right? I'm kind of curious. I want to go back into what it was like growing up with parents as owners of a restaurant. Were they able to separate, the business, or was it business all the time and you were always hearing and experiencing what they were going through at the restaurant at home?
No, actually, they didn't really talk much about the restaurant when we were at home. My parents were really supportive, and as far as the things that we did. So I played volleyball, basketball. They were really supportive of that. Most of the time when we were at home, I was probably the one talking the most. So they were listening to me and my volleyball and my basketball stuff and my friends' stuff. And so we didn't really talk about the restaurant and how things were going at home. But it was really long hours, so we were at the restaurant mostly all day. When we got home, we just eat and go to sleep, or, get ready for school the next day or whatever it may happen. It wasn't really retrospectively thinking about my parents' situation. They did a really good job, because working at the restaurant and having 2 kids, you have to drive them to school, you have to drop them off, you have to get their food ready, and then go and work a 10-hour shift, come home, make food, and then get yourself ready for the next day. I can't even imagine that. I don't have kids. So and it's a struggle for me to do that right now, So I'm like, wow, that's amazing that they did so much for us, and so much support that it's I'm thankful now, obviously, seeing all the things that they've been through.
What are your restaurant hours?
So we're open Wednesday through Friday, 11:30 to 2, and then from 5 to 9 for dinner, or 5 to 8:30 right now, just because hours are a little weird. And then Saturday and Sunday we're open from 11:30 to 8:30.
So Monday and Tuesday you're closed.
Correct.
And when you open at 11:30, what does that mean? When do you have to show up to start preparing food, etc.?
Yeah, so I typically show up a little before 10. to start prepping everything, and that's kind of when everyone else comes and preps everything. But we kind of prep throughout the day, so it's not too much in the morning. We don't do everything in the morning. It's just kind of we prep throughout the day, and cut vegetables throughout the day. So it's kind of like little chunks at a time. So I think that my parents went in around that time too. I don't really remember because obviously I got dropped off at school. So I'm assuming that after school, then they would go to the restaurant to start preparing. I have a lot more help now. I don't think my parents had that much help when because it was my mom, my dad, and a server typically. It was very small. Now that we just can't keep up with the volume, so we have more people helping. So I think in a sense, they might have went earlier than I did. But yeah. But I live in Long Beach, so it takes a while for me to get down here.
Oh, you live in Long Beach now?
Mm-hmm. The border, I live in Bellflower, so that's kind of like the border of Long Beach, yeah.
Oh, that's quite the drive.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did your parents put you in Japanese school on the weekends?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you did that too?
Mm-hmm. Went to Asahi Gakuen.
Are you saying that with remembering it with joy or with dread?
It was fun because you had friends in Japanese school and then you had friends in like your American school, I guess, or English school. But it was definitely something that at times I didn't want to go to because it's on a Saturday. A lot of my friends go out on a Saturday. I missed out on a lot of like friend events to go to school. So it was a struggle when I was going through that phase. But now I definitely appreciate it. I definitely feel like it was a good thing that I went through that. And I went all the way to Chugakse, I guess the Chusang. I don't know if you guys know. There's like 6th grade, there's like 6 years, and then there's 3 years. So I went through all of that, all the way to the end. I can't read and write as well, but at least I can speak it. So
Was it all language, or were there other things?
So it's Japanese school, and basically you have to go full Japanese. You speak Japanese the whole day, and you go to class. So you go to history class, you go to math class, you go to science class. So it's like school on a Saturday, and you go through the different categories or different classes.
Oh, quite intense.
Mm-hmm. It's a very intense schooling.
1 day a week?
1 day a week, Saturday, but you have homework that you have to do. So it's a whole thing.
And how many of those schools are there in the San Gabriel Valley? Do you know?
I actually don't know how many there are now, but when I was going, there was one in Pasadena, and there was the one I went to towards the end of my years was in El Monte High School, or South El Monte High School, I think. That's where they host it now, I believe. But with COVID, they transitioned to online one, so I don't really know how that's going, but yeah.
Are you still connected with the Japanese basketball community? Do you still play basketball?
I do not. I have not for a really long time. I started playing volleyball more frequently when I was kind of graduating high school. So up until senior of high school, I was playing basketball a lot, and then I started playing volleyball junior year of high school, and I kind of fell in love with volleyball. So then from there, I played more so volleyball. But I do still talk to Coach Honda. He was supporting us throughout COVID, but I haven't seen him in a really long time just because I think COVID, and he's being really careful with that. But my volleyball coaches and my mentors, they come to my restaurant every week pretty much. So I see them all the time. So that's really cool. So yeah, I'm really still in connection with a lot of my volleyball community side of it.
I see. Well, I want to get into the differences generationally, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Warmouth Law. At Warmouth Law, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. They've been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them today at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast. All right, we're back with Natsumi. So Natsumi, before the break, I was mentioning I'm interested the differences generationally. I know you said that you've kept the menu, you changed some things in operations. And with marketing, now you come from a generation with Facebook, Instagram, all these different things. What are you doing in that space, if anything? Are you reaching out to people with social media or?
Yeah, so we have an Instagram. I don't post as much as I should, but we do have an Instagram. We have a website that we post things on when we need to let the community know, hey, like we're closed for whatever reason. Like we just had some closure just because like there was water pipe issues that San Gabriel was doing, so we had to close on a regular Thursday, so we had to like send a message out. So we do have those platforms. I should be doing more in there, but I haven't. So I have to kind of get that back in the role. But yeah, we definitely have way more opportunities to reach out to the community, reach out to people via social media than my parents did. Back then it was either newspaper or word of mouth. That's like pretty much it, or TV, but you can't really buy a commercial on TV if you're a small business, so definitely different. My mom said this the other day. She was like, yeah, there's no way I would have survived this generation, even having to pay taxes online, even having to do a lot of these like government things online. My parents would never be able to do that, so it's definitely a change and a shift. But as far as like the atmosphere, like I want to keep the current ducks very homey. I don't want to change much to it. It's great as it is, and I wouldn't want to change it for myself either or for my customers. That's been coming forever. But I do want to have a space where it's more my vision, my generation of people, things that are exciting for us. So I do want to have a next location, a different location with a lot of our food still, because donburi, kare, karaage, like all of those tapa style like Japanese food, that's amazing to have, right? With beer, with alcohol. I really like to drink. So so in my mind, like the current restaurant is really like you're coming home to eat, you're just coming home, relaxing, eating with your family. But I want to have a space where it's like I want to go out with friends. I want to go drinking. I want to go, eat some great food, have an amazing night. So I want to have a restaurant that kind of portrays that. So I've always envisioned myself opening a next location that has that kind of vibe. So
would that be an additional location, or you would?
Yes,
okay,
it wouldn't be the one. I'm not changing the current one to that at all. It would be a separate location. So I've always been thinking about it. So definitely something that's in the works that we're working on. Yeah.
What kind of location would be good for something like that? Would you go into Pasadena, or would it
Pasadena
work well
would be a
elsewhere?
really cool location for it. SGV is really amazing because like Russell said, it's really a melting pot of like, foodies. So many foodies in the San Gabriel area, and a lot of them are, like my generation where, we love to go out and eat with friends and family, and that experience is something that we want to do every night, So I think the San Gabriel area is going to be perfect for it, I don't see ourselves going outside of the city anytime soon. I think that the next location would be somewhere very nearby because I just want our customers to be the first ones to experience that, before we move somewhere else. So yeah.
There's been a real transformation, I would say, in the last 15 years or so with spots in the San Gabriel Valley to, I guess, hang out at night, right? Where maybe that didn't exist so much outside of Pasadena.
Yeah.
But now Alhambra, there's this Rosemead, I think it's like Rosemead in Las Tunas area where all these restaurants and places that are open late and people just sort of hang out. And so that's a big change. I remember going to certain places in Pasadena and they said everybody in the San Gabriel Valley goes downtown and everybody from the Empire comes to Pasadena to sort of hang out at night. And I don't know if you're getting any of those people coming from, farther away, but that's interesting, the concept to have this spot in San Gabriel Valley. I'm curious, do you have to deal with Yelp reviews? Like, what's your experience with that? Because I don't know that we've had, we had a Lee's Hoagie House on here, but what's your experience with that, with Yelp?
Yelp is amazing in a sense where it is a place where people can go to look at business hours, just check out what's popular, food items. But there's definitely some Yelpers that are a little off in a sense. You know, sometimes they get mad about something that is not in our control at all, but they would want to say something online, and it's really hard because, you know, you can't really control that. You know, that's their opinion, that's what they experienced on their end. But I definitely want to say, like, you know, there are times where I'm like, that's not how it went at all, you know?
Sure.
So there's definitely those.
Do you respond?
I don't. I really should, but I don't. A lot of times it's because of time. I don't have the time to kind of go in there and respond. But also, in a sense, I think that my customer, it's actually funny because I had customers come to me and they're like, did you see this review? Like they're terrible. And I'm like, I know, I saw it, but I can't, like, I could totally respond, but there's no time to like go in there and like manage all of that, you know? So managing Yelp is definitely one of the things I have to put in my radar of things to do. But our customers are really, really, really amazing. They don't really look at that type of review. There probably is some people out there that are like, they would see one review that's bad and be like, well, maybe we shouldn't go. But in that sense, it's like, well, you're missing out. You know, you're missing out on something amazing because of this one person's review. Maybe look at everyone else's reviews and see, you know, that it's actually maybe that one person had a bad day, you know, wasn't feeling right, and they just experienced it and lashed out on Yelp. So I don't know. I think that there's love-hate relationship with Yelp.
Yeah. I mean, I'm interested in how people handle that, because like Yelp can be a great tool and it can be really frustrating too. You know, I've had a negative review which was false like this. I never had this person come in, and knowing about Yelp a little bit, like you can't just create an account to put a negative review, right? Like it'll fall off. But this person had created an account and created 10 other reviews on the same day, like just so that it would be established. So I was like, wow, you know, and other people have horror stories with Yelp, but yeah, I'm always curious how people deal with Yelp. I've noticed also a new restaurant pop up in the San Gabriel Valley, and within 2 weeks they'd have like 200 reviews. And I'm like, I don't know.
Definitely. It's kind of like Amazon, right? Because I think Amazon has that as well, where they have thousands of reviews, but they're purchase reviews. So it's kind of like how do you really determine what's real, what's not? I would say, like, if you're using Yelp and you want to find a good place, yeah, look at the reviews, but try it out yourself. You know, it's really not, you're not spending $10,000 where you have to do that much research. Just go try it out yourself. You know, people have different experiences and they might feel upset at that moment and they put a bad review because they're just so mad, and they could have been mad about something else, you know, but that shouldn't deter you from going to try it out. You should have an opportunity to experience it yourself and get your own opinion, you know? So I would just say, like, use Yelp to find good areas around you or find restaurants around you, but go try it out yourself. You know, don't solely rely on Yelp reviews.
Oh yeah, I take it all with a grain of salt. all those online reviews. Well, we're going to transition here to a segment of the show to learn a little bit about where you like to go in the San Gabriel Valley.
This is our segment. We call it SGV3. So we like to talk about places or things that you like to do. And I think, Russell, this may be the first time we have actually had somebody who is named as an SGV3, because I believe that Dux was...
oh, yes. It was Tomoko. Tomoko named Dux as one of her SGVs.
Right, yeah. So I don't think we've ever had like an SGV3
That's right,
guest, you know?
Yeah. So Tomoko was on here, I think, couple weeks ago or a month ago or so. So she named us as one of her favorite things. I mean, she also has an amazing spa in Santa Anita Mall. So it's really cool that she named us as one of her threes.
Well, all this talk about, you know, noodles and curry, I'm putting you in my SGV3 and I haven't even been there.
For sure.
But what are your three things that are places you like to go or experiences that you've had?
Definitely my restaurant. So I'm going to put Dux as one of my threes as well, because I grew up there. That's like my home. And then also that's my food is like what I eat all day, every day. So it's one of my threes.
Oh yeah, we didn't even ask that question. Do you eat the same kind of food at home that you cook all day?
I cook randomly. Most of the days I don't cook, I just eat at the restaurant. So almost every day I eat at the restaurant. I'll change it up, like I won't eat curry every day or ramen every day. I'll change it up. But at home, if I cook, which I typically don't, I like to eat like Mexican food, so like burritos, tacos. I also like to eat steak. Ribeyes are my favorite, so I always eat ribeyes, and then I eat junk food. So
yeah, okay. So
yeah,
okay. Well, your ducks is number one, and it sounds like it deserves it. What would be another second place?
I would say Almanzar Park, because it holds a lot of memories for me, and then it's also the origin of the restaurant and kind of how it morphed into the name Ducks. But then also, even now I go to Almanzar Park for open gym, for volleyball, and that's kind of where all of our friends hang out. So it's really it's a place where I just have a lot of memories, and so I just love Almanzar Park.
It is a nice park. I mean, I would definitely consider it a real strong place of interest for me too. I mean, great memories there.
Mm-hmm.
They've really developed it too. I mean, since when I was growing up, they've grown the walkway to expand.
Mm-hmm.
And the basketball courts, they've really improved it, and some seating, some shaded seating. That park is really central to Alhambra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you'll see people of all walks of life, all ages, walking till 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's open gym until I think 10 o'clock or 10 o'clock. So we're there pretty late too. So
open gym for volleyball?
Volleyball, yeah.
Is there open gym for basketball?
I believe so, yeah. And they have badminton there. They also have table tennis there. Yeah, and the basketball courts outside, I think, the lights are on until 10, and those are open courts. So it's like a pickup game. You can go and have a pickup game there. So yeah, it's really, they have tennis courts there too. So
yeah,
I'm not really good with tennis, but I know that they're there. Yeah.
And number three,
I think it's going to have to be Santa Anita Mall. And the reason why I say Santa Anita Mall is because as a kid, that was like, the place to be, because that's where you get new stuff, So like my mom would always take me to the Santa Anita Mall, and it would be the best thing because it's like, okay, like what am I going to be able to squeeze out of my mom, So that was a really good memory. Santa Anita Mall has blown up. It's huge now, and it's really beautiful. I even go there now with my friends to the Dave & Buster's there. They have an amazing happy hour, so we go there a lot. And now my cousin Tomoko, she has a spa there, so I'm there a lot too, hanging out with her. I go to her every month to get my hair spa and my trims. So I'm there a lot. So I would say Santa Anita Mall is definitely like another place that I like to go to.
I stopped going to Santa Anita Mall like 10 years ago because it just got too crowded. You couldn't park. Is it still like that? Or
I don't think...
It was just completely annoying to me.
It's not, at least it's not when I go. And maybe it's because of COVID. Maybe the volume has decreased. But typically when I go for like Dave & Buster's, I would park in the structure in the back on the rooftop. That's kind of my spot to go park at. If I go to Tomoko Spa, I would park where Macy's is. And I'm like, there's always parking there for me. So I don't really have that problem right now. So yeah, maybe you should go back.
Maybe I should. And I've heard that it's just, like you said, it's boomed, and just a lot of restaurants and
they have a lot of restaurants in there.
Huh?
Yes, they have amazing restaurants in there.
Do they still have the old-fashioned food court?
They do.
Okay,
yeah,
but Dairy Queen is gone.
I actually don't know. I haven't been to that side in a while.
There's another reason to boycott it. Because
I mean, you've probably been going since the food court was upstairs in that one little corner, right?
Yeah. It's very different now, and it's very nice. It's
I actually
really
would like
nice.
to go. I mean, they have a lot of good restaurants.
Yeah.
I would like to go.
And they have little shops too, like the restaurants. They have little like single stall restaurants too, in that little like restaurant alley in Santa Anita Mall. So that's really cool. to go check out some of those little spots as well.
Oh, yeah.
They're always packed. So it's
Will
really,
there ever be a Ducks at Santa Anita
that
Mall?
would be nice. That would be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind that.
Oh, actually, yeah, that's a. I think your menu would suit that. You know.
Yeah.
Wow. Speaking of which, before we close out the show, you named a lot of your food items by Japanese name, and I just want the listener to get a chance to know what those things are. So your donburi, karaage, I think you said, but go ahead. What are those things?
Sure. So Katsu-don is one of our most popular dishes. It's deep fried pork katsu cooked with sweet soy sauce and egg over rice. It's typically cooked over easy. So if you don't like, your eggs a little runny, make sure you tell us ahead of time so we can cook it well done for you. So Katsu-don is definitely our most popular item. Donburi really means just the bowl. So anything that goes in a bowl, we call it donburi. So katsu donburi, oyako donburi, which is the chicken version. We also have like a karaage bowl, which is a newer item, which has been pretty popular. It's karaage chicken. It's deep fried chicken batter or battered chicken. And it's really crispy and juicy. And we use our house sauce with the karaage bowl. I'm getting really hungry thinking talking about this. But we also have our curries. Everyone says curry, which is fine. In Japanese, it's called kare. But we have like katsu kare, beef kare, chicken kare. Katsu means deep fried whatever. So it's deep fried pork or deep fried chicken. So we have pork katsu kare or chicken katsu kare. And it comes with rice and the gravy, the kare gravy that you put over the rice. What else did I say? I don't remember. Udon is a thick white noodle. I think most restaurants would have an udon, but it's for us. It's the thick white noodles. Really popular with the kids. Kids meaning like little kids. They love it. I think because they can grab the noodles and they eat it with their hands. So it's really popular with the kids. We use a really simple broth. We like to keep things simple. I think a lot of people like to put a lot of things in their noodles, but I think that changes the flavor a little bit. So for us, we like to keep things really simple. So when you come to our restaurant, you'll notice that our udon is just very simple. It comes with inari, which is tofu. Sorry, I gotta keep explaining it. And soup and udon, and it's very simple. If you want to add on different things, we definitely allow that. But I would say try it how it is first before you add on some of that stuff. We also have ramen. I think ramen's really popular now, but our ramen's very simple as well. We have only chashu pork, bok choy, and a little bit of onion with the soup and noodle. Are you getting hungry? I can see you shifting a little bit.
You know what is fixed in my mind is like the pork, deep fried pork. So what do you call that?
Katsu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Boy, I could have about 6 of those right now.
Yes. We also have a katsu teishoku, which has been really popular. It's a very traditional type of bento normally. Or teishoku. Teishoku means basically you have your meat, rice, soup, and salad, and that makes it a teishoku. So we have a katsu teishoku, which is pork katsu, and we also have, it comes with a salad, a soup, and a rice, and we have a tonkotsu sauce that comes with it. That has been really popular with our bento orders, with our Nikkei and our Buddhist temple orders. They would order the katsu teishoku as their bento items because that holds well, and it's really like a packed lunch type of meal where you can eat it later and it's still crispy, juicy, delicious. So we also have that has been really popular as well. So
all right.
We're all getting hungry.
Yeah, now that everyone's really hungry, where can they go? What is the address of your restaurant?
The address is 1381 East Las Tunas Drive. We're Unit 1. We're on the corner of Las Tunas and Muscatel, right across the street from, I think it's USA gas station. So right on the other side. It's right by Jefferson Middle School as well. San Gabriel Academy is right there as well. So we're in that little corner. And you'll definitely miss us if you don't really look for us. Yeah.
And you said you had an Instagram account also?
We do. It is Ducks Restaurant. We do have an Instagram where we post events or something that's come up, or national, beer day or whatever. We'll post something on there with some specials that we have. So definitely follow us on Instagram. If you want to order takeout, I would definitely recommend going to our website, placing the order through there for pickup. We do also do Grubhub delivery. So if you're in the vicinity and you want to deliver, definitely go through Grubhub. Or I believe Yelp has a link as well to place orders online.
And you mentioned the Buddhist temple, but like for businesses who maybe want to order bento boxes, like this, your restaurant could do that, right?
We accommodate it for large orders. Typically, the Buddhist temple will order over 100 orders for us. So that's typically kind of our range. Just because with that, we just have to have more resources come in to prep for that. So we won't do smaller orders, but if you really want to do a small order, just message us or call us at the restaurant and we'll talk it out,
Great. Well, Natsumi, thank you so much for coming on and sharing the story of the restaurant, the name, and the food, and describing the food for our listeners. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Well, there you go, SGVers. Thank you again for tuning into this episode. We hope you enjoyed that. Tune back next week for another episode with another guest. And if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you again next week.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key at sgvmasterkey.com and wherever you get your podcasts. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono and Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again real soon in the next episode.
Nice mother. No, kind mother.